welcome to our channel. In this mouthwatering video, we'll show you how to make irresistible gluten-free donuts that are fluffy, flavorful, and perfect for anyone with dietary restrictions. Ingredients: 500 self-raising gluten-free flour W and gluten-free baking powder, pinch of salt TLI 5G, xanthan gum MS8 T5G, castor sugar U, 75G unsalated butter, 1 whole free-range egg, DO 200 ml whole milk. Wait! Before starting the video, I introduce you with Alpha-Lean weight loss supplement, which will help you to burn belly fat naturally in 7 days. For more details, click the link in the video description below.
I'll be using a mixer to make my donuts. It's not mandatory, but it does make the process a bit easier. It can absolutely be done by hand if you have the time. Give everything a nice whisk together, and that is not all of your dry ingredients. Silly old me, as I said, I forgot to include the yeast. I didn't forget to include it in the bake, so you will see it being added in, but don't forget to add your yeast in with your dry ingredients. Then we can go in with our wet ingredients, so adding in your milk, there's that yeast, and your whole free-range egg. I've popped the bowl onto the stand mixer, and I'm going to bring this together firstly using a paddle attachment. So either mix the ingredients together gently or pop your mixer on a low speed. So you can see over the course of about 30 seconds to a minute, the mixture really starts to come together. It's at that point then that you can turn your mixer off and switch to your dough hook. After all, donuts are essentially a brioche bread recipe. At this point, we can start adding in our chunks of butter a small bit at a time. One helpful tip would be to make sure that your butter is at room temperature. I would recommend mixing for anywhere from 5 to 7 to even 10 minutes depending on how your dough is coming together. You will notice some really stark differences between how this dough performs compared to your standard donut containing gluten. Gluten as a protein allows the bread to become stretchy and pliable. In the absence of that gluten, we rely on our xanthan gum and our egg as our binding agent to make this dough come together into a nice homogeneous ball. And with my hands oiled, I'll take that dough out of the bowl and pop it into a separate pre-oiled container. What you use to prove your donuts is entirely up to you. I like to oil this plastic bowl and then pop it into a cake box because it avoids the need for any plastic wraps and faffing around. It just works really well for me, but do whatever works for you. And you want to leave the dough to rise in a warm place for 1 to 2 hours until it has risen. This recipe may not double in size, but that's okay. You will still get a nice fluffy donut at the end. After those 2 hours, you'll notice that the dough has risen. You can see my hand marks there as I push out the air. All I've done is tip the dough out onto a lightly, and I mean very lightly floured work surface. It's easy to add a lot of flour, but that will really quickly dry out your bake, making it almost inedible and very tough. So be extremely sparing with flouring your work surface. And this is the part where you'll need to grab your kitchen scales and weigh out 65 grams of dough per donut. And I'm cutting the dough using a bench scraper. It might be useful to flour that utensil just to make sure that it doesn't stick, because this dough can be quite sticky to work with. Once you have weighed out all your donuts, you should have about 15 balls. Next, we want to shape our portions of dough into a circular round. This is probably the trickiest part of the entire process. This dough, by its nature, is quite sticky and can easily get stuck to your work surface. So there is a bit of a knack to rolling these into the little circular rounds. Make sort of a claw shape with your hand and start rolling that dough between the palm of your hand and the work surface. If I just change the angle of the camera here, you can see what I mean. My hand is almost in a claw shape and I'm working that dough between the heel of my hand and my fingers. Don't worry if you don't get this right the first time. It's absolutely not going to affect the final bake. It can just make them look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. Once you've rolled out all your portions of dough, we need to let them rest again for between 30 minutes and an hour. They will get slightly more airy, but again, not compared to your standard donut dough. Just leave enough space so that there is some slight room to expand. After your hour is up, start to preheat your oil. I am using sunflower oil and I'm heating my fryer to 160 degrees Celsius. Not everybody has a fryer, and that's absolutely fine. You can use a candy thermometer to test the temperature of your oil if you just want to use a frying pan. And while my fryer is heating up, I'm going to go ahead and flatten down the top of my donut rounds. This seems weird considering we spent time shaping them. If you don't flatten them down before frying, you will have real trouble flipping over the donuts. I will show you a batch that I did just as a little tester to show you what I mean here. So flattening them down actually helps us to flip the donut and they will stay flipped over. I typically fry 4 donuts at a time and for 3 minutes and 30 seconds on each side, or until they are a nice deep golden brown colour. Frying gluten-free donuts is a longer process and it's at a lower temperature than a standard donut. And wow, they look absolutely brilliant. They are quite golden in colour, but don't let that put you off. As long as they are not leaning towards the burnt side, deep golden is the perfect colour that we want. Remove your donuts from the oil very carefully and turn them out onto some paper towel just to soak up any excess oil. I like to cool them on a wire rack. Once they've cooled for about 5 or 10 minutes, you can go ahead and dunk them into your caster sugar. This just finishes them off and makes them look so pretty and delicious. They really are irresistible.
Ready to say goodbye, stubborn belly fat? Get Alpha-Lean weight loss supplement, click the link in the video description below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching.